My name is Caitanyadev Das, and I currently live in Brisbane primarily, but I travel a lot. Spend a lot of time in Melbourne, Coffs Harbour, Sydney. Journey in Krishna Consciousness started when I was a little kid, and we had a Krishna book on the shelf, on the bookshelf. And my dad had got it from some devotees in the 70s. And I would always look at it because it had the like psychedelic pictures in it, the 70s edition of Krishna book. It was pretty far out as a kid. And then at one point my dad told me, he's like, yeah, I met the guy who was like the leader of that thing. And he'd met Prabhupada in Sydney at an event because they were promising free food. And my dad's like, I want the free food. And then he was really frustrated that he had to sit through like 2 hours of, it was like initiations, and you know, it was his lecture and initiations. He's like, where's the food? Anyway. So there was this connection. And then when I was about 19, 20 years old, I was in Canberra and I'd see the devotees doing Harinam. But they were these Peruvian devotees and they couldn't speak English. And so we'd go every Friday, they'd do like prasadam and give it away to the homeless people. Me and my friends from work would go and like hang out with them, but we couldn't communicate with them. And so then when I moved to Melbourne in 2006, I looked up, there's a Hare Krishna temple. It's like the first thing I did the day I landed. I think I landed on a Saturday morning or something. And I got on my bike and rode down to the Hare Krishna temple. And I'd never seen a temple. And you know, you go into a temple as a Westerner, it's this full on. I'm just like, what the hell is this like a Satanist? Like, what is this going on? And but then, yeah, this one Aussie guy sort of popped his head up and got chatting to me, and it all started to make a bit of sense. So from there, yeah, became a devotee and practiced very seriously for several years. And then for many years, I didn't practice at all. I completely dropped away from it. And it was actually around 2019 that Harinamananda was in Melbourne and doing Harinam a lot. And that's when I got back into it. I actually saw him and Harinam Ruchi doing Harinam when I was going through a divorce and I was in a really bad place mentally. And I joined in the Harinam. And then in 2020, we started going out every day during the lockdown, which was great. And then in 2021, I moved to New Govardhan and spent 2 years living on the Hare Krishna farm and got initiated by Kanana Swami before he left. And here I am today. I go out on Harinam as much as I can.
So what does Harinam mean to you?
Harinam to me is the essence of Krishna consciousness. My personal view, like everybody will have their proclivity and you can engage whatever you do in Krishna consciousness. So if you like to cook, and I do like to cook, you can do that. Of course, you can cook for the devotees. You'll get a lot of great outcomes from cooking for the devotees. Whatever it is you're good at, right? If you make, there's one devotee at the farm, she's really good at like making dresses and she's made all the stuff for the deities. You can do that. You can do whatever. But I'm not a musician. I have no musical talent whatsoever. But I still think that Harinam is the real essence of what we do, because that, when you boil down the however much it is, 20,000 pages or whatever of literature that we have, you boil it all down and it's like, so anyway, what should I do? You should go on the streets and chant Hare Krishna. That's the conclusion of the whole literature. So to me, it's both the means and the goal. Like the practice is to go out and chant Hare Krishna on the streets, and the result of doing that is that you will get the ability to go out and do it more. So yeah, that's what it is to me.
Nice. And what brings you to the Schoolies Harinam?
Yeah, the Schoolies Harinam. So I came when I was living on the farm because it's only an hour's drive away. And that was a really great experience. It was a bit of a leela because like you couldn't get over the Queensland border easily. So like trying to get everybody over the border was a bit of a thing, which was also fun. Bit of transcendental smuggling. And then ever since, like it's the best Harinam of the year, besides New Year's. Those are the two big ones. You've got Schoolies and you've got New Year's, and you know you're going to get a banging Harinam. So to me, it's like if you're a fan of a big band and that band came to your hometown and played a free show in the stadium down the street from your house, like how can you not go? How can you not go to that party? It's the best one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best party. And I guess, yeah, there's the aspect of reaching out. How effective do you think it is?
Well, it's what brought me. I mean, I've had that debate with quite a few devotees, particularly people who are more intellectually minded, and they're like, oh, well, you know, it's got to be the philosophy in the books. And I'm like, well, I'm an intellectual, but I came from being attracted to Harinam. And we see results, people that we've met here at Schoolies who are now practicing. So I think it actually is highly effective, because trying to come to people with some heavy philosophy that's written in Sanskrit, that's, you know, there's a lot to comprehend in there. Trying to get people to actually sit down and make time for that and be interested in doing that is almost impossible. But if you can give them the Harinam and the Prasadam first, then they'll experience all of that. And then when you say, do you want to understand the reason behind this, like where we got this idea from, then people will be interested. So I think it is effective. Like it can't be the whole thing. You never read any books, you just do Harinam, you're going to be missing part of it. But yeah, I think it is effective as like a front door.
Okay. And what about like the atmosphere? You know, these kids are drinking, you know, after sex, taking drugs, spiritual life. That sort doesn't seem to be of main concern. How, you know, the enthusiasm for it, is it spiritual or is it just?
Well, I think what everybody's out here looking for is some pleasure. You go through 18 years of life and your life's kind of on rails. You do what your parents tell you most of the time. You're a teenager, you do some naughty stuff. And you go through school and you do what the teachers tell you. And then finally it's like, oh, I'm done. Like I've done that whole thing. What am I going to do? And of course you want to have fun. And everybody is looking for that. And so all the things you just mentioned, those are the ways that everybody knows you can get some kind of pleasure, right? It's advertised everywhere and well understood. Like that's how you do it. But I think if you present a way that people can get some ras out of life, that's actually what they're here looking for. So you're not presenting something contrary. Again, if you were to sit down and just like start reading Bhagavad Gita verses at them, I don't think you're going to get anywhere. But start quoting Sanskrit, you won't get halfway through the verse. But yeah, you get them to chant and dance, and then if they're really into it, come and take some prasadam later. Yeah, that's what they're actually looking for.
And how has like the kids' response inspired you in your Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, seeing the response is great, because it can be hard when you go out on Harinam in a big city and you don't necessarily, like when you've got a big Harinam party like this with all of these kind of empowered characters with you, you bring a lot of Shakti and you can really make it happen. When it's you and 3 other bhaktas in Brisbane, you know, on a Friday night and no one can get the timing on the drum quite right or whatever, it can seem like, oh man, you know, we're never going to get anywhere with this. So coming to something like this is really inspiring to see that. Yeah, it's sort of, and for me, it's honestly equal. 50% of this is coming here to preach and give it to others, and 50% of this is actually for me, for my own sadhana, to come here and do this, because then it gives you inspiration and power to go out and do it the rest of the year. I did a big tour around Queensland a couple of months ago, and it was the first time I ever went out. I did it once in Melbourne actually. Second time I ever went out and just did Harinam on my own was in Airlie Beach, because it was a bit of a rockin' town. Yeah, and I just had those wampers that I stole off my friend here. I had those wampers and that was it, and went out and did it, and I made a few people dance and a few people stare and a few people laugh, but it was like I never would have had the motivation and the guts to do that if it wasn't for things like this.
And sort of like a promo, if people or devotees who see the videos and, you know, they're sort of unsure whether they should take part in future Schoolie Harinams, what would you say to them?
I think this is the best Krishna conscious event of the year. Like, if I think about the last couple of days, what we've done sadhana, we've done morning programs, great association with all these lovely devotees, hang out on the beach, the best prasadam, and then you go and do Harinam for hours on end. You're just chanting for hours on end. You know, we're here with Prabhupada disciples reading us the Shastra. You can't argue this is not like top tier sadhana and KC experience, but at the same time, it's a holiday on the beach with all your mates. And if you can't enjoy that, I'm kind of worried.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just, I don't know, is there something else you want to add? Or?
No, it's good.
Yeah, okay. If you can chant the Maha Mantra one time for us.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Ruba.
Yeah, no
That was
worries.
wonderful.
That was